What's going on, everybody? If you remember last time, we got this thing fully planned out for as far as how we want to wire everything. Now we just got to go ahead and do it. But before that, this place is a mess. So let me clean up some stuff real quick. See if this thing will go. There we go. Move it over a little bit so I can actually get in that door. But first, let's make sure that sub's still working. Definitely working. All right, let's get into some wiring. All right, the first thing we're gonna deal with is taking out this old speedo cable. There is a nice hole through the firewall here with the grommet on the end. The grommet does kind of stay attached to the cable and it's a little tough to get off, but it ain't that big of a deal. A little bit of WD gonna fix everything up. Now we can just yank her straight off. Now we're just kind of yanking everything out from the dash and yanking it out from underneath the car where it runs to the fitting on the transmission. There's a couple brackets and stuff that hold it, but you can just bend them out of the way and pull her straight on out. And here's the transmission end, all dirty and gross because mine leaks an unbelievable amount of fluid. And we're just throwing it straight in the garbage because we don't need that where we're going. I am going to keep the grommet though, you'll see why in the future. Next thing on the list of stuff to take off is the park neutral drive whatever indicator device. So it's pretty easy. It's just a little cable that runs to the bottom of the steering column, and as you put it in drive, steering column rotates down and pulls on the cable, which moves the little lever in there. I'm just starting by taking the cable off of the plastic side of things. That way we can just get the big chunk out of the way and then worry about the cable after. And here's where the cable's just clipped onto the bottom of the steering column. You can just grab a screwdriver or something and pop that thing off of there and pull it on out. I wish we could have kept this somehow, but there's no way to fit it onto the new dash. But whatever, it's easy enough to figure out. Everybody knows that 3 clicks down is drive, you know? Next up, we got the GPS speedo mounting location. I'm just using some 3M sticky tape, like usual, and I'll show you where we're putting it in a second. So up under here is where I thought would be the easiest place to put this thing. That way it's nice and tucked out of the way, and this part doesn't need to see the sky or anything, you know, for the satellites or whatever it uses, because it's a GPS, right? There is another part, the transponder piece, that does need to see the sky, and it will be going on the windshield, but I'll get to that in a second. And this is the part I was talking about here. When you buy the speedo, it comes permanently attached, and it also comes with some more 3M sticky tape. So they were very nice about that. We're just gonna route it along the side of the A-pillar here and wrap all the wires up real nice underneath. So I got some tape on them and a little zip tie to hold them up out of the way. And whoever did the windshield last in this thing left a whole lot of urethane left, so you can just stick the wire on into there if yours is like mine. But I think it turned out pretty clean. Don't worry, I'm gonna cut the end off that zip tie, it's no big deal. And then there's this button too, for programming this thing. I am gonna mount it on the dash somewhere, but we'll get to that in the future because there's other buttons we gotta run in there too. Next on our to-do list, we are gonna depin everything that we need to get out of this connector using a tiny little screwdriver. So you can kind of stick it just behind the pin here, and it depresses a little tab, and then you can pull it straight out from the back. And I'll show you what that tab looks like in just a sec. So here's where we were sticking our screwdriver before. It just pushes that little piece down, and that's why you can pull it straight out from the back. So we'll get the rest of these done, and then I'll explain exactly which wires we have to take out. Don't even worry, it's super easy. So first one we took out was the high beam indicator wire. Then after that we have the park brake and low brake fluid wires. They're both connected together. And then the one that goes all the way back to the fuel sender, and dark blue for the right turn signal, and light blue for the left turn signal indicator. And then we got a couple ground wires, and 2 pink and black wires for key on power. Now I'm just kind of going to tape up all the old pins and connector and everything, and then just stuff it in the back so that it doesn't touch anything, because there was still some key on power wires and other wires that we aren't using in there still for the lights in the old dash and stuff like that. Now we're just kind of going to cut off each one of those pins so we can connect the nice butt connector to it for all the wires for our new dash. This is all the stuff that we're going to be needing. Just a cheap set of Amazon heat shrink butt connectors, some real heat shrink, and some eyelets. Next, we're just going to try and figure out how we want this to be ran. For starters, we got our speedo power and ground. Black and white is the ground, and red and white is the power. Talking about these ones first because we're going to cut them a little bit longer than all the other wires. And yeah, we're going to cut almost all the wires because they give us like 5 foot ziz of wires to work with, and that's just too much. And I'm cutting them off camera or out of frame like a doofus, so I'll switch the frame and then you'll be able to see it. There we go. That's a little nicer. So we got these first 3 cut about 6-ish inches. Should be just perfect enough to reach to our dash harness. And I will get the rest of them cut, and then we'll go through which wire does what after that. Alrighty, so I'm just going to start off by explaining all the wires that we have cut to around 6 inches for the main dash harness. So starting off, we got gray and black for our left turn signal, gray white for the right turn, purple to dim the dash when we have our lights on, tan for low brake fluid and park brake light, brown for the high beam indicator, yellow for our fuel sender, and yellow black for fuel sender ground, and then black for the main ground. These 2 will be tying together. And pink for key on power. And then we have our GPS speedo harness, which is black and white for speedo ground, red and white for 12 volts, and white for signal. Next up is we're just kind of going to do a whole bunch of organization, like taping up wires that run in different directions, and then we're going to strip everybody. There we got everything stripped, and now we are just going to tape up the remaining harnesses. So I'm going to put power separate from all the signal wires and stuff, just to reduce any noise on temp sender wires and stuff like that. It's always just a good idea to run them a little bit separate. These wires are the wires that go out to the temp sender and the oil sender, and they'll be going through the dash, so I left them at full length to be able to wire them properly in the future. And then we got our other wires that we left at full length, which will be our power wire, constant 12 volts, our tack wire, which is green, and our check engine light wire, which is green and yellow. We're also adding another one that won't be in the harness that goes to the dash, but it will run from the GPS speedo's orange wire all the way over to where we have our green wires for the swap harness and stuff to give the PCM a speed signal from that orange wire. The way that I'm going to be doing it is just simply wiring this black wire in with all of the other wires that are supposed to go to the GPS speedo anyways. And then from there, I'm just kind of looping it back and putting them with the wires that go over to the swap harness, because that's where this wire will also be going. Unfortunately, our check engine light wire is way over there, so I kind of got to run it over top of some other wires and then loop everything back together so they can all run somewhat nicely and equally, and make sure it's all nice and clean. Alrighty, we got everything all over to the side like that. Now starting off, we got red, which is constant 12 volts, green for our tachometer, green and yellow for a check engine light, and the black wire that I was explaining before. Now all that stuff can get taped up, and it will be going way across the dash over to where the swap harness would be. And this is the final product. So we got all of the wires that need to go in different directions taped together. And starting off, we got our dash harness looking real nice. Then we got the power harness with the black and yellow twisted together. Then we got our GPS speedo harness. Our oil and temp sender harness is looking especially nice. And then all the wires that go over to the swap harness. Alrighty, and now it's time for some crimping action. Yes, I'm using butt connectors on these. No, I don't want to use solder. I hate soldering stuff. It sucks. And I'm also really terrible at it, so there's that. But I've never had a butt connector come apart on me. But I have had solder come apart on me. Just saying. Speaking of butt connectors, this is where I connected the brown wire from our light switch to the purple wire on the dash. Just stuck two in one end and called her a day. And just some of the same stuff coming up. A little bit of taping. And we're also going to do a little bit of stripping on the every single wire that goes to the dash. This took a while because these strippers have them in the handles, which is always a bit tricky to fit into tight spots, but whatever. They say snap-on them, so they must be good. Now we're just kind of running everything. This is ridiculously hard to record because, as you can see, I was just all over the place, but don't worry, I'll show you. Now we kind of just got everything ran through the dash, starting off with our dash harness to be equal length with our old dash harness to connect them. And then this is the swap harness one going all the way over to the passenger side under the old speaker mount up there. Red wire is coming off and going down to my mess underneath the center console for constant power. That's why we ran it with the swap harness. And then the wires just keep going on over to this massive hole. I guess where the airbag would be in a normal car, but that's where I'm going to be putting my PCM and everything, so that should work great. Now, we got to get our oil and temp sender wires outside the dash. But if you remember before, we kept the grommet where the speedo cable came out. So I think you already know where this is going. We got this coat hanger pushed through, and from the other side, we could just pull on it and pull the wires right through. It's super easy. So I had to record through my dirty windshield on this one, but here we're just kind of wiring up every wire that would go to our GPS sender with these heat shrink butt connectors. I like to use a little baby torch on these guys to shrink down the heat shrink. It does get a little too hot sometimes, so you gotta watch out for that. A heat gun would be ideal, but they're kind of clunky and, you know, plug-inable. I like this thing because it's super nice and portable and it works great. Now we're just gonna tuck the wires somewhere nice and then move on to the next thing. Now it is time to begin every single other butt connector, and there's a whole lot of them, and we gotta heat shrink every single one. So I did the power and ground off camera. This would be key on power and ground, I guess. And now we do every single wire that goes to our old dash connector. It's gonna take a second. Make sure not to forget about the brown wire for the light dimming. I almost did. And here's what she's looking like, all connectored up. Now, what do we connect each wire to? So we got purple connected to brown for our light dimming, tan connected to tan and white for our brake light, brown connected to light green for high beam indicator, yellow connected to tan for our fuel sender, and for the turn signals we got gray and black connected to light blue and white, and gray and white connected to dark blue and white. Then we got our power wire, pink connected to pink and black, then in our grounds, which are actually black, and in our fuel sender ground, which is black and yellow, connected to the black wire. And there we go. So we got everything taped up. Now we just got to finish on some other stuff. Next up is the constant power wire, which is going to be ran down to our center console wiring. Please excuse the mess. I've been meaning to redo this underneath here. This is kind of just temporary. It looks as sketchy as it is. And we're just going to be using a little eyelet, but there's some preparations that must take place. I always pull off a little cover on it because they suck. Now let's get her crimped on there nice and tight. Bam! Check that shit out. It ain't going nowhere. Now we'll just connect it to our constant power post that we have in here. I would explain this more, but it's really, there's not much point because I just made it myself and your car won't have one unless you somehow copied me. But anyways, we got her all back together. Now it's finally time for a test fit and testing all of the wires. So everything that should work is basically everything that we wired to the old dash wiring, except for temp gauge, oil pressure gauge, tach, and speedo. We have to calibrate the speedo, and I need to get the motor in for the other three. But damn, that thing looks good when she first boots up. So we got left signal working, and the right signal working, and the high beam indicator. I don't know why I thought all those would be red, but anyways, I'm glad they're their own separate colors. And the brake light, park brake light. So I would call that a pretty successful test drive on this thing. And I just had to make sure this thing turned on. It does. Next, we need to kind of figure out how to get this thing actually in the car, because there's a lot more wires than what used to be there, and it's kind of tough to tuck them everywhere. And we got to deal with all these buttons. So for starters, I'm just going to have to cut these. I would like them to be easily removable, so the buttons are going to be hard mounted, and then I will just cut the wires and add some blade connectors to make sure that they are easily removable. Now it's time to install all of our buttons. I think I'm going to put all three of them right beside the light switch here, because there's a nice open space and it should be easy to press them when they're all installed. First things first, we got to take the little nut off of each one of them. Now we got to find a drill bit that fits these things. I started off with a 1/4 inch bit, but it ended up actually being more like a 9/32 if you got one of those. 9/32 fit basically perfect over these things. Now let's get them holes drilled. So I started off by measuring this thing out. It's about 2 inches tall and 4 inches long. So I'm just making a mark at the halfway point here, and then drawing a line across for the same halfway point. And now we're just kind of drawing one mark every inch, because I thought just 1 inch would be good enough, and drilling some holes. This part, definitely be careful with. You'll see why in the future. So to get all these holes drilled, I highly recommend just simply removing a steering column. Well, not removing, but like just lowering it. So you can take these two blue looking bolts off. They're just both 15 millimeters, and now she's all wiggly. So we can get that last hole drilled. I recommend doing it before you drill any of the holes because it gives you so much more room to get everything done. Now it's time to pull the tape off and see how we did. Yeah, those holes aren't straight at all. I definitely messed them up, so I would recommend using a center punch or something to get those very, very straight, but whatever. Anyways, let's get these switches all taped up and then we can start putting them in. There we go. I think they turned out pretty good actually. Even though the holes aren't straight like whatsoever, they don't look that bad because the one on the far left is for the GPS speedo and the button's actually a little bit bigger than the other two. So I'm not really worried about it. Whatever, it'll be fine. Hopefully you can drill your holes straighter than mine. Now we're just gonna slap the steering column bolts back in with the impact. Don't worry about a torque spec. And this is what it looks like when they're all done. This is where they're coming out. Perfect spot for where they're gonna come out on the dash as well. And the GPS one runs all the way down to its home as well. Next step is to strip all of these guys and put some blade connectors on them. We're also going to be heat shrinking these because if they touch each other, it's basically the same thing as that button being pressed, and it will like press buttons for us on the dash, and we don't want that. So we're going to make them nice and protected. And for the other male blade connectors, we're going to use just some tape. And this is what they look like all done. Next up, we're going to have to equalize the length of the dash wires here. So on the left side, they're a little bit shorter. On the right side, they're a little bit longer. So we're kind of going to split the difference and make them both the same length. Next, we got the cluster pulled out of the housing, and we're just going to tape up these wires as well, now that they're the same length and everything. And we'll also be putting some blade connectors on them, opposite of the ones that were on the other side. I made the left side a female blade and the right side a male blade so that you can't like plug them in backwards, just so that everything makes more sense. There we go. These things are looking real nice now. Next up is every other wire that goes to the gauge cluster. We're going to be using this flexible wire loom stuff. It is awesome. I've used it on my sound system quite a bit, and we're just going to slip it on over, cut it to length, and then put some tape on each end to keep it nice and clean. This way it'll let us fold these wires up behind the dash without hurting them or anything. And it just keeps everything nice and clean and good looking. This is what it looks like when it's all together in the housing with everything coming out where it's supposed to. So those gauge or switch wires can connect right up to their counterparts in the dash. Now it's time to get everything installed, finally. But it won't fit until we do some modifications, which we'll see in just a second. So to allow these wires to kind of fold up behind the dash, we do have to cut it in a few places, which is just kind of the bracing for the dash here, and you'll see where I cut it. Right there and right there. Now everything should work perfect. Now we can install everything and have it kind of coiled up just like this. So it's kind of got to run around the back, take a sharp 180 and come back around and plug into the dash connector, because they just give us so much wire and I didn't want to cut all of these wires here. So this is a good alternative too. It ended up fitting perfectly. So there's a couple little nuts that we got to put on here for starters. There's one right here and another one right here. And then we'll put the rest of the screws in afterwards. Then they included this goofy thing in the kit. I wasn't sure if I was going to put it on, but I might as well. It doesn't exactly fit perfect. They kind of cut it a little bit small, so that's why it was broken in a couple places. But it'll kind of help to hide the circuit board effect of everything and make it look a little cleaner. Next up, we're going to adjust our voltmeter. So I have one built into my switch panel, and you can just simply twist this screw to line everything up. And as you can see, 12.3 volts. And another thing we can adjust before putting the gauge face on is the fuel sender switches. So the left one needs to be up and the right one needs to be down for what we're dealing with here. There is a chart in case you have other fuel senders, but for my car it's 0 to 90 ohms, and that is left one up and right one down. Now it's time to get into programming these guys with our buttons. So when you press and hold the speedo button, mine's the middle one, it will flash all of these different things. First thing it starts with is the highest speed recorded in this ignition cycle, then the 0 to 60 time, quarter mile time, the range of the gauge from 0 to 120, and the odometer. For the odometer, we're going to program it right now. So I wanted 3, so I pressed the button 3 times, press and hold to move over to space, and then I wanted 8, so same thing, press the button 8 times, press and hold to move to the next number, and we just keep going from there. I kind of just set it to exactly what I had before. Next up is our tack, so we got to press and hold it for a little bit longer than the other one this time. First thing on the list is how many digits we want it to display. So you can do 4 or 3, I just chose 3. And then we got how many cylinders your engine is. For LSs, we want 4-cylinder mode for some reason. If you're running a 305 or 350 right off the distributor, you would want it in 8 cylinders. And then we got the range of this gauge as well. I just set mine to 6100 because I thought that would be fine. And 6100 would be all the way pinned on the horseshoe display there. That basically concludes all of our programming for the speedo and tack as far as these buttons go. I will make a separate video on the GPS speedo in the future. Next up, we got to get our acrylic gauge face on there and our spray painted metal piece that we made in the first video, if you remember that. So it's just a couple little tiny screws at the top and some more at the bottom. Next is this stupid piece that was all scratched and terrible looking. I ended up not actually using it because you can see in the reflection of the light how badly scratched it was. It made the gauges look stupid. As you can see here, it's not ideal at all. They look really cloudy and bad, so I ended up just taking it back off. Regardless, it's complete. And here is the finished product. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Thank you so much for watching us get this Intelitronix digital dash kit all put into our 1978 Chevy Impala. I think it turned out awesome. It was a lot more work than I thought it would be, but it looks unbelievable and I'm super happy with the finished result. Last couple things to do are just to wire up TAC and some other senders, and we'll also get the GPS speedo programmed. But like I've been saying, we got to get that motor in there first. So next little bit of content is going to be all about that. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.